As of lately, people have been struggling in the Discord to draw hands. Therefore, we are going to do a hand study. Personally, I don't really know what goes into doing a hand study. I've watched a lot, and I think you just draw hands. So we're gonna do that. We're going to draw hands, and I'm going to give you a little bit of tips and tricks and how I learned to get... I'm not very good at drawing hands, but I am much better than I was a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And really, the first part of it is just getting yourself geared up to do really poorly for a really long time. On the real, gear yourself up to draw many bad hands and to feel very uncomfortable. It is by no means easy to feel like you have no idea how to draw, especially for me, who I've been drawing my whole life, and I avoided drawing hands for as long as I could. And not even that, it was really just the fact that I had not intentionally learned how to draw hands to a point where if there were hands in the drawing, I wouldn't necessarily avoid it, but I could spend hours redrawing that hand over and over again, wasting so much time only because I hadn't yet intentionally tried to learn how to draw hands. So if you're in that same position, I highly recommend that you get right into it and we can stop wasting time. In this process, you may have to watch many tutorials like I did. You're gonna have to seep it all up. I recommend Proko. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but they have some really great tutorials. I watched a lot of Draw Like a Sir. Blue Biscuits, I believe, has probably my favorite tutorial, only because, I don't know, Blue Biscuits, they're amazing. Those are the ones that stick out. But basically, everyone has a different approach when it comes to drawing hands. And really, the best way to figure out your technique is to just watch everyone, try all the different techniques. What helped me really click when it came to drawing hands was like the rules of ratios when it comes to hands. And I mean, there's a lot of different rules, but the rules basically essentially about how all your knuckles should like have an arc to it. They all follow each other, they all line up. It's definitely something you can check every single time you draw a hand, is whether or not your knuckles are kind of in this arched position. If they're not, and if one is up here and another is down here, it's a no-go, bro. So learning all the different series of arches that your hand follows really helped me. If you see in my process, I start out with the base or the palm of the hand, and then I create my fingers going outwards. Sometimes for some poses it's not gonna work, and you're just gonna have to get right into it, especially if you're using a reference. 100%, you're not gonna learn how to draw hands by not using a reference. You're not gonna just like magically know what a hand looks like. You would think you would, but they're very complicated. These guys, very complicated. You're not gonna know, and it's gonna be even more dejecting and hard to get started if you're staring at a blank page and beating yourself up because you have no idea what a hand looks like. So use a reference. Using and picking up the techniques that other people share helped me a lot. And then when it came to actually practicing and drawing, I had to draw so many bad hands. I had to understand it, and really over time, it was muscle memory. And I mean, that's kind of how so much of like any kind of practice goes, is you start out terrible and you get through the trenches of being terrible, and then eventually you'll find yourself a month later much better and much more comfortable, and you really reap the benefits of practice. And I love that, and it was such a great feeling. It feels great now to feel a little bit better at drawing hands, and I don't feel as limited, but it really was just getting over that hump and then grinding out the tutorials, picking up other people's techniques, being flexible, being okay with failure, giving yourself grace to push through that process, and trusting in time and trusting in what it looks like to come back and, you know, open up your sketchbook and just draw bad. And eventually bad may turn to good, and good may turn into great, and great may turn into freaking awesome. And that is all for today. I will be patch paging my sketchbook that we've been working on, trying to fill, and hopefully we can get to a point where I will do a whole sketchbook tour of my favorite pages. And I will see you next time.